Welcome to the Brand Gravity Show, where we explore the intersection between brand building and psychology. I'm your host, psychology-driven brand strategist Kaye Putnam, and today I'm having a really interesting conversation with an industry that I personally don't have a ton of experience in, which is interior design. I became aware of Kaye Cox at a local entrepreneurial event where she was a speaker and was struck by how passionate she is about her business. And she's clearly a celebrity in her niche. Her work has seen nationwide accolades and she's incredibly successful in her field. And because every brand has nuance, I approached this conversation with the spirit of curiosity because I was looking for things that rhymed with what I know to be true about brands. So even though it's a different industry with different norms, things like that, there are brand building principles that are true no matter what. And I think we uncover some really interesting ones in this conversation. Kaye Cox is a people person by nature and an interior designer by trade. She's passionate about connecting with others and learning about her clients' desires and lifestyles. Kaye strives to create lasting relationships that enable her to design beautiful spaces that are fresh, tailored, and timeless. She expertly pairs homes like her own 1954 mid-century modern with softer traditional interiors and infuses more classic homes with a fresh dose of color, modern art, and tailored simplicity. Growing up in the heart of the furniture industry in central North Carolina, Kaye learned to appreciate quality craftsmanship, the tradition of furniture making, and the importance of supporting our local artisans. Studying abroad in Italy while studying at UNC Chapel Hill and living in New York City exposed her to the fashion industry, which helps her marry tailored designs in her design process, like dressmaker shirts, subtle trims, and unexpected color combinations. She loves traveling abroad, good food, and the arts, and all of this has led Kaye to a life of constant exploration. Whether searching out new artists, sources, or tradespeople, she's always striving to bring the best collection of her goods to her clients. And after returning to her native state of North Carolina, she served as editor for a home furnishings magazine covering national and international trade shows, trend forecasting, and gathering an extensive base of product knowledge. Building upon her expertise, Kaye followed her passion for design by obtaining her interior design degree. Kaye trained under Lindsay Henderson Interiors, one of North Carolina's premier residential designers, before establishing her namesake design firm in 2010. Kaye's work has been featured nationally in magazines like Traditional Home, Domino, and HGTV magazine. Her client projects have graced the cover of publications like Triangle Home and Design, Seasons, and O. Henry. She's been regularly featured by design bloggers and partnered with industry insiders from Alden Parks to Uttermost, and recently launched her first licensed collection of kitchen and bath designs with Thomas Traders. She served as a style spotter for High Point Furniture Market for 2019. And as a true lover of the arts, Kaye has served as a board member of Greenhill, North Carolina, the Center for North Carolina Art, and regularly travels to galleries and art museums searching out inspiration. When not browsing auctions or vintage stores, Kaye can be found on the back of a Harley with her husband, Steven, running her two kids to various activities, or entertaining her friends with vintage china, her grandmother's silver, and a good Vidalia onion dip from the local deli. Let's get to the conversation with Kaye Cox. Could you introduce yourself and your business to give us a little bit of foundation to start from?
Sure. So I have had my business for 12 years now. I started working for another designer in Greensboro right out of design school and was with her for about 2 years. And then, well, actually, I had my second child. And so it was like a great transition time. And she kind of pushed me out of the nest and said, "You're ready. You need to go do this on your own." And I kind of went kicking and screaming and didn't think I was ready, but she was a great mentor, Lindsay Henderson, and I credit her so much with helping me start my business because she had been in business for decades and she was so willing to give me advice and let me use her samples and, come and go from her studio even after I wasn't working there anymore. She let me keep my key for years. And so I've had my business for 12 years. I'm now in a freestanding studio on State Street near downtown Greensboro, and I have full-time staff, and I've just grown very organically over the years. And I've been really fortunate to, expand outside of the triad now. And we work across North Carolina, a little bit in Tennessee and Virginia and South Carolina. So we, mainly specialize in luxury residential interior design. We do everything from new builds to renovations to furnishings. So we're very much full service and really pride ourselves in the way we service our clients as much as our design skills.
Amazing. I'm so fascinated and excited to dive into all sorts of details. But before we do that, I'd love to know, what are you most proud of from the last 12 years in business?
Oh, wow. I think I'm just really proud of being a female small business owner, because there are so many small businesses that fail in the first 5 years. And I think I've already defied the odds by, lasting this long, and then being able to employ other women and support other families is really just like a joy. And that's a big commitment and a big responsibility. And I take that very seriously. But I think it's also something that, we as small business owners, you are always striving for something and the next goal and the next step, but we often don't reflect back on what we've actually done. And to have a, really successful business that has supported my family and then now other families through my employees, I'm really, really proud of that. Probably more than any of the design work I've done or recognition I've received in the industry is the fact that I've built something on my own by myself, not by myself. I have an amazing husband who's a great partner and allowed me to do all of these things for my business. But, it's easy to quit and it's not easy to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What continues to drive you? Like what brings you forward when things are hard and challenging, as they often are?
Yes. I think what really at the end of the day drives me is customer satisfaction and having clients who come back to us and establishing relationships with those clients. That now I have a client that I worked with 12 years ago, and I think we're on like their fourth house now. They love to move, which is great for me, but also, to know that they keep coming back and that I've watched their children grow up. I've watched them expand their family. I've, met the new dogs, and it's a really personal relationship with our clients. We're in a very intimate understanding of how they live and how they're using their homes and what their habits are. And so over, 12 years, you get to know people really well. And the fact that you build that relationship of trust that they would keep coming back means everything. And that's really always my goal on any project, is that I'm establishing a relationship with a client for life, and that this may be the first project, but then we're going to do the next house. We're going to do the vacation home, and we're going to do their parents' house when they downsize. We're going to do their kids' apartments when they move out, so that's a lot of fun. So I always say, like I say in my bio, like I'm a people person first and I'm a designer by trade. So to me, the relationships are more important, than anything else that we've established with clients.
Talk to me about the interior design industry. What are some norms in that industry, and what are some of the ways that maybe you've departed from the way that everybody else was doing things?
Well, I think actually what's really challenging about the interior design industry is that we don't have a lot of standards for a business structure. So, and I think it's also changing so rapidly, like within the last 10 years, the changes I've seen because of technology and access that people have to design online and interior design goods and, all the design shows that are out now. But, what's most challenging is the fact that you can interview 10 designers and we all have a different business structure. So people build differently for their time. They build differently based on, a markup on product. Some people are very transparent. Some people had fees and markups. Some people buy directly at cost. Some people are buying through retailers. There's just such a wide range of how our services are offered. And I actually think that makes it much more complicated. We have to do a lot of educating our clients if they haven't worked with a designer before. And even if they have, on how we bill and how we work with clients and our fee structure, because there's such a range of how different design firms manage that process. And so it really is an educational process in the beginning of every project. And how we talk about, we want to put our emphasis on design fees because we are offering creative work that the client can't do for themselves. That's why they're coming to us, right? And so while we
Yeah.
also source one-of-a-kind products and custom goods, I want the emphasis to be on the creative work and the value that we're bringing to a creative project. But, I think one way we've set ourselves apart is, so when I trained under the previous designer that I worked for, she had been in the industry for years and years, and she had clients who had 6-7 figure budgets. And she, I kind of think of her as like the old school design firm strategy where everything was hidden in a markup. The markup changed based on what she was selling, what brand it was, or what type of, fabric was one markup and furniture was a different markup. And some days it was this and some days it was that. And it kind of just depended on the project. And when I went out on my own, I realized, and she had older clientele who just trusted her and had built that trust over the years and didn't really question what she was charging and what her fees were. And then when I went out on my own and I was working with young clients who were, my age or even younger, and I opened my business when I was 30. So, I would say my client then ranged from 30 to 40, maybe. And they were asking questions about transparency, and they were asking about pricing, and they were checking prices online, and they were looking, information up that the designer I trained under didn't have to deal with. People didn't question why she was charging something, or, what they could buy it for somewhere else. And so I just started very early on creating a transparent business model and being very upfront and having to get really comfortable talking about design fees and talking about what our markup was and what our margins had to be to run our business, and look at it as a business strategy, and not just as a design firm, but we're like any other small business, and come at that fee process from a business owner strategy instead of a design strategy, if that makes sense. And I don't have a business degree. So, you're figuring it out as you go. I've hired amazing coaches through the years who've helped me kind of create that process. And then having designers in the industry who I've established relationships with and friendships with. And I find our industry to be really welcoming and encouraging, and people are really open to sharing information and helping each other, and just having like a group of people that I can go to and ask questions when I don't know, I get into a situation that I don't understand or don't know what to do. That has like meant everything. And I have a great group of design friends who are all over the country, and calling and asking questions is, really normal for us, and supporting each other. So that has really, helped me figure out things that I wouldn't, probably do the right way the first. Oh, and I don't always do things the right way, right? You figure out as you go. You make mistakes, you make adjustments, and then, you keep going.
100%. Quick question, just for anybody who also is asking themselves in their mind, how did you meet all of those peers in the design industry? How did you form those relationships?
So I would say the way I first got connected was through a show house in High Point. And being so close to High Point Market is like a huge benefit for me. So I'm, 30 minutes from High Point, and that is such an industry leading, trade show every year. And so I have never missed a High Point Market and actually I began the very beginning of my career as an editor for Home Furnishings magazine before I went back to design school. And so I have been going to furniture market since I was 24 years old. And I've never missed a market in 18 years, I guess. So that's such a great way to network with people and just put yourself out there, go to every event. I just think that's like a 2 weeks of the year that you have to take advantage of as a designer, because everyone is coming into my backyard from all over the country. Amazing design professionals. And there's amazing seminars and, educational classes and networking events and cocktail parties, and just saying yes to every invitation you get and showing up and putting yourself out there and talking to everybody who's there. So I would say that has really been a great networking tool for me. But then I participated in a show house with Traditional Home. And this is, gosh, I bet it's been 7 or 8 years now. I can't even remember how long it's been. But I connected with so many North Carolina designers there and national designers, but really the other local designers who were involved were really inviting, welcoming. We all had to, ask, can I borrow your vacuum? Can I use your ladder? We were all just sharing things back and forth within the house as we were preparing our rooms. And I met some really amazing friends from Charlotte specifically, like Tracy Zeller and Lisa Mindy, who did a space together. I first met those ladies there and ended up in a private coaching group that they had been a part of and then introduced me to, where we were in a business coaching mastermind group for a year in Little Rock, Arkansas, and flew to Little Rock 3 or 4 times that year, had this amazing mastermind group from all over the country. And so that really established these relationships with designers who were working at all different levels, all different price points. And still today, those designers that I met in that mastermind, I could call any. In fact, one of them called me yesterday with a question and said, this has never happened to me before. I know you've had this happen. Like, what do I do? How did you handle it? And that is such a gift. So networking and creating those relationships is, just invaluable, I think, as you're building a business.
Yeah, massive. And to translate that to other industries, I would encourage anybody to look for events where a lot of peers are coming together. Those investing the time and the energy to get in those spaces, especially in-person spaces, I feel like is such an amazing opportunity to build relationships. I love that.
Yeah, because, when you join a coaching program like that, you invest in the program, but what you don't realize you're getting back in your investment are these relationships.
Yep.
And I think sometimes that's just as valuable, if not more valuable, than the actual coaching program.
Yes, 100%.
So I'd say that's lasted much longer than that 1 year mastermind. It's the value I continue to receive years later.
Oh, I love that. And for those people who aren't as familiar with what a show house is, can you explain that to us?
Sure. So often a national magazine will come in and host an event within a private home. So it's sometimes a house that's on the market. It may be a new build that a builder is wanting to market to sell. And sometimes it's even a house that people live in, and they'll, kind of offer their house to all these designers to come in and do as they please. And designers will be assigned spaces within that home and design a specific space. And there are not a lot of parameters. So you're really able to go in and kind of design however you want to design, which is really fun because generally we're working within a budget. We're working within a client's, inspiration pictures and design goals. And show houses are ways that we can take a space and really kind of imagine something of our own and not have to follow like specific design parameters. And so that was kind of what I consider like my design coming out, that show house. I was chosen as a local designer because it was based in High Point, but I was in this house with national interior designers like Miles Redd and Suzanne Kassler and, huge names that have coffee table books and product licenses. And just to be within that group 2 years into my business was incredible. And it was published in Traditional Home. So you get great exposure in the press, but also the home is open for tours. And so I've had local, clients come through, and then they became clients years later. They would call and say, I saw your work in the Traditional Home Show House and I've been saving your business card for 3 years and now I can finally hire you. And, that's such a great feeling, but it really is a way to market yourself in a way that can showcase your talents and your design skill without having to fall under parameters of a client project. So I kind of just went all out on that house. It was called the Adamsley House. And, it was a huge investment and I spent a ton of money, but it was a way for me to kind of set myself apart, have amazing photography, and showcase what I could do. So,
how did you get that opportunity?
I applied. So it was hosted by the Junior League of Greensboro. So it was a fundraiser for the Junior League of Greensboro. And you had to apply and send in a design board and your inspiration pictures and your floor plans and your material selections. And there was like a review committee that, chose the designers for the house and assigned the spaces and all of that, which was a lot of fun. And I've since done show houses now all over the country. So I've done one in
Oh,
Dallas, I've done one in Savannah, Georgia, I've done another in High Point, and they're just a really great way to connect with designers in other locations, to have your work published and connect with brands. So it's also
mm-hmm.
been a great marketing tool for me to connect as I've grown my business and become more visible. Now I have brands that offer partnerships and they want to donate furniture, they want to be seen in your space, they want to, be in your photography. And so it gets easier.
Yes.
The longer you're in business, the more people are offering you, goods and things to use in those spaces. So,
Mm-hmm.
and we still do a lot of charity events like that. I'm getting ready to do one in Chapel Hill this fall that's a tablescape event. And, we're creating a tablescape for a fundraiser for the UNC Children's Hospital. But I'm partnering with Replacements Limited, which is an amazing, source for tabletop and vintage tabletop. And you can just source anything there. And they're right down the road in Burlington. And so I love supporting them, and they've always been a great partner whenever I've asked them to be involved in any kind of marketing event or branding event. And they're so generous to donate items out of their showroom and their inventory for us to use. So I just love building relationships like that with vendors, and
Amazing.
it's a great way for both of us to, market our businesses.
We're going to get right back to the interview. For the next few seconds, I'm going to share with you my brand clarity collective and how it can help you grow your income and impact. If you're an entrepreneur who feels stuck or uncertain about what makes your brand stand out, then this is for you. The Brand Clarity Collective is a mastermind multiplied by mentorship. It's part online curriculum, part digital mastermind, and it's designed to help you get crystal clear brand clarity so you attract more perfect clients and grow your business. We have a thriving community of entrepreneurs who are all smart and driven. As a member of the collective, you get an all access pass to all of my best branding courses, as well as access to our private community where you can connect with like-minded entrepreneurs and get feedback and support directly from me on our coaching calls. The Brand Clarity Collective is priced at just $297 per month. And after 6 months, you keep lifetime access to all of the courses. To learn more and to see if it's right for you, head over to my homepage at kayeputnam.com. There's a big section where you can click to learn more. I'll also include the link in the show notes wherever you are listening or watching. All right, let's get back. 100%. Do you have any advice for people that are looking to build peer relationships like that with complementary businesses? What has worked the best for you?
I think it all comes down to understanding that you're supporting each other. And so you have to be willing to promote it. You're tagging them in everything. You're letting them use the photography that you receive from an event. You're just cross promoting, and you're continuing to use that imagery. For me, if it's on Instagram or if it's on Facebook or Pinterest, I'm making sure that they're always like elevated within my post and tagged and shared and, posted in stories so that they're getting a continual return long after that initial event as well. And
Nice.
so I may be using that photography, for years, or I'm putting it on my website, or I'm writing a blog post about that vendor and the event and continuing to share it with, my followers and clients, or I'm writing a newsletter about it and putting it in the newsletter and inviting clients to the events to see the table, or to join me. And so I think it's just understanding that it's a two-way street,
Mm.
and that they're offering you a service and you're offering a service back. And so it has to be, how can I elevate their brand at the same time that I'm elevating my brand.
Mm-hmm.
The initial reach outs are always like a little nerve wracking if you're working with somebody new and you haven't, but I think people are so willing to share and partner and offer things so much more than we think. And a lot of times we hold ourselves back from asking, or, we don't want to bother people. And
Yep.
everyone's trying to promote their businesses, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so if it's a way that they can promote their business and their products without a financial investment, people are so willing to do that. And they love being promoted by another business. And
Yeah.
I think it's also in the beginning, organically looking at the people that you work with most frequently. So
Yeah.
what vendors are you using most frequently? And then those are the people we're going to reach out to first, right? So they're going to be more willing to work with you and offer you discounts or offer you product if you're also supporting their business through your orders and through your continued, vendor relationship.
Yeah.
So that you kind of naturally gravitate to the other businesses that you're supporting, on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. That's such great advice. And it sounds like in the beginning too, you were willing to go out on your own, what's the word? Like go out on a limb. That's what I'm looking for, to
Yes.
basically create a stage for that partnership to live. Like you've been building up your Instagram, you applied to be in the show house opportunity. Like you were
Right.
being proactive about being visible as a brand yourself so that you had something to offer those peer relationships when those collaborations came to be.
Absolutely. And in the beginning, it is an investment on your part. You're
Yeah.
going to spend a good bit of money up front for however you're promoting your business, photography or social media or, website design, all of those things. But, I did receive really good advice early on from an interior designer. And I asked a very direct question at like a roundtable discussion at High Point Market. And I said, what is the best thing you ever did when you were building your business and building your brand? What's one piece of advice you would give to like a new small business owner? And the advice given was invest as much as you can in good photography. Because
Mm.
design is such an image-based business, our branding and our visibility is based on images and photography. And so
Yeah.
from the very beginning of building my portfolio and my website, I mean, I don't even think we had Instagram when I started my business, which
Yeah.
is crazy. But, I hired the best photographer I could hire. And I spent the money on those initial investments when it was terrifying. I probably
Mm-hmm.
spent more on photographing my first project than I made in design fees. Um,
Yep.
and that's just a big investment in marketing and branding when you're starting a small business and building that visibility. But I would not hesitate to do it again. I mean, it was the best decision
Mm-hmm.
that I ever made because over the years that comes back tenfold as you're building your brand.
Yes, such an important asset. And I would argue that more businesses than you think would get that same benefit from really strong visuals. Even if you aren't in design, even if you aren't in art, having really strong visuals adds such just a innate authority to your brand because people can tell that you've invested in it. And images are such a subconscious piece of attraction for people that come across your brand that photography, I agree, is one of the best investments for almost
Absolutely.
anybody. Yeah, that's
Well, and
huge.
now everyone's promoting their business on social media. So you have to have
Mm-hmm.
images. Whereas,
Yeah.
12 years ago, it was more website based or print magazines and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't even have a question anymore because that's where everyone's promoting, is an image based application.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about your team. What does your team look like these days?
Yeah. So currently I have a full time operations manager. And she kind of keeps everybody running behind the scenes and handles our client communication and their scheduling. I think she has the hardest job of all of us because she's like herding cats all the time.
Yeah.
And with what's happening in the industry right now, post COVID, all the delays, back orders and product issues we're running into with availability, she's the one who's like placing orders and tracking them and communicating to the client if something goes out of stock or is discontinued and all of that. So she's running like our day-to-day business management. And then I have a full-time lead designer who actually went to design school with me. And we've
Nice.
had such a long relationship. It's really ironic that we've ended up, working together. She was 18 and went to design school straight out of high school. I went back for a second degree at 27. And so, quite a few years older than her, but we trained at the same time in the same program. We understand how the other one works so well. And she had worked for another design firm and a local tile showroom. And I actually ran back into her in the tile showroom. She was my salesperson there and kind of hired her away from them when I had an opportunity to grow my business and add a designer to my staff. So I have her full time. And then I have had a design assistant position. That position's like currently open right now. We just had our last design assistant leave, and we're kind of debating like when we're going to fill that position. We have a good relationship with a couple of design schools and generally always offer internships because I had such a strong mentorship. I love to mentor like students as well. And so we also love to identify new talent that's coming out of school. I'm 42. And so these students know things that I am never going to learn and don't want to learn. And so I love bringing like young design talent in who can bring something to the table that, we don't have to reinvent ourselves. And then I have a part-time bookkeeper who works from home, and she has done my bookkeeping for years, and she does all of our invoicing and bill pay and all that kind of stuff. And then I have worked on a contract basis with a brand manager who kind of helps me with overall strategy and direction on like a quarterly basis. She'll kind of help me figure out who I'm going to pitch projects to for press and, what I need to invest in if I need to update my website or if I want to do more on social media or photography. And so she's kind of just on a contract basis with strategy and, she does some copywriting for me as well.
Nice. That's awesome. And then who's managing all of your marketing? Is that you or is that somebody else on your team?
That is me. So I have tried several times to outsource, and I think because my first degree is in journalism and mass communication, I have an advertising mind. And so I have a really hard time letting that go, even though I probably need to at this point, just for the pure number of hours that I have in a day. And all too often it falls to the bottom of my list because I'm managing the day-to-day design business. And my brand strategist does help me with some blog post writing and some newsletter writing. So she does help with some of that regular content, but I'm managing all of my social media posts and, inquiries from podcasts or blogs or magazines or, whatever those requests are. And I love it. I actually just love it. So I have a really hard time giving that up. It's a part of my business that I really enjoy, and I enjoy the strategy thinking. And so I don't know that I'll ever really be able to hand that over.
Yeah, I feel you. I'm the same. I've hired a lot of contractors to do different content creation, creative work for me, but I have always maintained the CMO hat in my own business as well, just because I love it. It's so fun. I love all of it. Yeah, amazing. I feel like one of the hardest things about growing a team is instilling the brand values and communicating your vision effectively to the people that are on your team. What have you found works best to make sure that everybody's acting on behalf of the brand in the way that you want them to?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think because we're such a small team, it's easier.
Yeah.
Because we literally all sit at one giant table together every day. So while that's not always the best for staying on track with our tasks, we're a very collaborative group. And so, our work is feeding off each other. And I have worked really hard over the last year or two to create a really clear brand strategy that is client facing. And my operations manager has helped me kind of implement some of that. But we have created, very templated, branded print and email. If this is what a client receives on a first inquiry, this is our welcome package. This is our investment package. This is our, pre-install guide. This is our follow-up, wrap up. And they're all branded and they're all beautifully presented to our
Mm-hmm.
clients. And we've created printed materials, and we've created like a full system so that every time we touch a client, it is within that experience. And then, we might meet once or twice a year and kind of do like a strategy day. And we'll leave our office and we'll go do it at, somebody's house or a different location so we can kind of all focus, and we'll just run through and talk about like our process and how our process is falling under our brand. And the most important thing for me is that the client experience feels like a luxury, because
Mm-hmm.
we're a luxury brand. So how can we sell luxury goods if we're not creating a luxury experience for our clients? And so we want to make sure that, we just had new branded notebooks made that will go out to every client when they start a project. And then they have a place to take their notes for the project. And then we have branded candles that we leave with a gift at install day. And, then we'll do several branded gifts throughout the year so that our clients are constantly being reminded of our brand. And then they have those things laying around in their house, or they're pulling the notebook out of their bag at, another meeting or wherever they are. We did like branded wine cups last year. And I love seeing like our clients will send us pictures of them on the beach with their, branded cup, and just things like that where we're in their forethought, all the
Yeah.
time, and being reminded of, and that goes to clients we're actively working with and past clients too. So, we'll do an outreach once or twice a year to past clients and just say, hey, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to do another project with you. Here's a little gift from us.
Nice.
So that's a way that, we've tried to extend our brand outside of just our everyday interactions. My love language is gifts too. So I think that has definitely gone over into the way we interact with our clients. I love to give them gifts or find like special things that we would leave for them at an install, or, surprise them with through a project. But yeah, it's become a really important part of our business to have a clearly branded communication process from start to finish with our clients. And
Mm-hmm.
we talk about that a lot. And it's just at the forefront of what I want my clients to experience.
Ah, amazing. Yeah. For luxury brands in particular, all of those small details are so important. That's what creates the feeling of luxury, is knowing that every single, T has been crossed and I is dotted and everything has been
That's right.
taken care of. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Is that where that education that you mentioned earlier is happening? Is it in all of those printed materials, or how else are you educating
Yes.
your clients?
Yes. So we created an investment guide about a year ago that, we get a lot of inquiries, but they're not all going to be a good fit for the client or for us. And
Mm-hmm.
so we want to make sure at this point, we're lucky enough that we can pick and choose the projects we're working on. And we want to make sure from the very beginning that people are, clear and understand what we bring to the table versus other interior designers. And so
Yeah.
we have this branded, communication investment guide that talks about our process and how our fees are structured and what our different service levels are and what they can expect an average budget to be for a room, and, how the process works and how long it takes and the different steps that go into that process. So that's the first thing we send somebody when we have an inquiry. And, often we never hear from them again because they
Yep.
see that fee and they're like, oh, okay, that's not going to be within my budget. I'm going to need to find something else. Or their services aren't what I need. I want, something, I want an hourly designer, something different, which is totally
Mm-hmm.
fine. But it
Yep.
goes ahead and establishes like our parameters up front for what we're looking for. And then we know that if somebody comes back and says, yeah, this looks great, we schedule, a call and we get more information. And then we go into like kind of that dating process of like, is this going to be a good fit for you and a good fit for me? And, we may interview them in person, or we may, do a phone call if they're out of town. But yeah, we want people to have all the information up front, so they're making a really educated choice when we go into a design project together, and that we're very clearly articulating what our goals are and what they can expect from our team and our service level. And then, hopefully there are fewer miscommunications and
Mm-hmm.
misunderstandings through the process, because it's a long process these days.
Yeah.
Our lead times are really long, especially for custom furniture. And so you're working with people for 6 to 9 months, even on a small, furnishings project. You have to really like each other to work together that long,
Yes.
And so you want to know from the beginning that we're a good fit, personality wise, and that our goals are the same for the project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the beautiful
Mm-hmm.
thing about putting or creating those assets in advance is that it becomes more of an attraction process. Clients get to self-select the brands that they resonate with. And it's less of, oh, let me convince you why you need to hire me. Because that dynamic never feels great as the business owner or as the customer or client.
Right.
So I
Right.
love that you're doing that. To wrap up, I'd love to ask two short questions. First one being, do you have a book or a resource or a podcast or something that has changed your life or your business that you'd recommend to other business owners?
Profit First is an
Mm,
amazing book.
yeah.
I think every business owner should read that book, especially, a small business entrepreneur, because all too often, we do just put money back into our business, back into our business, back into our business. And it's really easy to be burnout if we're not also feeling a personal benefit. And
Yeah.
creatives and small business owners deserve to be paid well for their services and, what they're doing, just like any other professional. And so that book is really great at like basically saying like pay yourself first, put your profit first as
Yeah.
you're establishing your business, and then the other things kind of fall into place afterwards. It's really easy to get burnout if you're not feeling like you're being properly compensated for your work, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a great book for like any business owner, not, design specific. I love design podcasts. Like
Mm.
I'm a very productive person. Like I like to be very productive. So I almost have a hard time listening to music now because I'm like, oh, I can listen to a podcast. What can I learn? I have 30 minutes. What am I going to learn today? And so like industry specific, I love the Business of Home podcast. It's really great. There's like there's a designer driven podcast, but there's also like a trade industry Business of Home podcast. Both are excellent. And
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like the Wall Street Journal for design and home furnishings. So it's kind of like your daily news and things that are happening in the industry. It's like a really great podcast.
Oh, that's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I love Profit First. I was so excited. My business bank, I use an online bank called Novo. They just switched. So every dollar that comes in, you can allocate different percentages to basically like different sub accounts, which
Mm.
fits the Profit First
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Model.
system really well. I was like, this is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool.
Yeah, super cool. Last question. If you could like plant a seed of an idea, like if everybody listening, every entrepreneur that's listening could know something, what would you want them to know?
I think I would just want them to know that they need to recognize their work, like their hard work. I just think we beat ourselves up so much these days because in this image driven world that we're in, we're constantly being bombarded by messages that we have to do more and strive for the next thing and what's after this and what's after that. And like sometimes you just have to go, hey, I'm really happy where I'm at,
Mm.
and like recognize what you've built. And while you can't get complacent in your business ever, you also have to give yourself a pat on the back and say, like, wow, I've built this, I've done a really good job and like good for me. And this is paying off. And, this was worth it. It's worth the sacrifice and the late nights and the early mornings and all of those things that you have to do as a business owner. But also like, don't let it go. Be remiss that like you've built something that you should be proud of while you're striving for the next goal.
Mm.
But yeah, I just think we're too hard on ourselves
Yes.
sometimes.
All of the time. Yes.
All the time.
Agree.
Yeah.
All the time.
Right?
Oh,
Because who takes
amazing.
on crazy business ownership unless you're a person that wants to overload your plate, right?
Yes. Entrepreneurship attracts a very special mind and
Yes, it does.
personality, that's for sure. Where
Yes.
can people find more about your business, more about you? Where should they go?
Yes, our website is karacoxinteriors.com. And our Instagram is also at Kara Cox Interiors. We're on Pinterest. Our branding is super simple. We're Kara Cox Interiors everywhere you look. So please give us a follow. And we're always trying to put like great inspiration on Pinterest if that's somewhere that people look as well, also on Instagram. And we'd love to hear from you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your genius and your time with us today, Kara. It was so appreciated, and I learned so much from this conversation. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Kaye. This was fun.
Kara is an inspiration as an authority in her industry, but also as a powerful businesswoman. And I so appreciated our conversation today. I hope you did too. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, leave us a rating and review. It helps so, so much, and I appreciate it endlessly. If you are looking for a place to network and build relationships with fellow entrepreneurs, I'd like to invite you to my Brand Clarity Collective. The Brand Clarity Collective is half mastermind experience, half mentorship. And I provide a insider's platform for you to communicate with each other, partner with each other, and then also live calls to get support directly on your brand from me and from guest experts. As always, all of the links are in the show notes on my website. Easiest link to find them is to go to kayeputnam.com/podcast, and you get all of the episodes that we've done so far. Keep sharing your genius. And remember, like Kara said, to stop and appreciate how far you've come so far. And like Kara said, make sure that you make time to appreciate and celebrate how far you've already come. Building a business is not the easiest route in the world, but it is so important, and it creates a life of your own design.